All true.
Finally and briefly, has she got it in her to be able to turn this around, to turn her career, to turn her life around?
Well, I certainly hope so, because Hollywood is a very forgiving place. Just think Robert Downey Jr. They will come back to her. They will be there. I mean, look at Paris Hilton. She's laying low under the radar, but she's back in the fold if she gets it. But I think we're dealing with somebody here who's seriously damaged. And there are repercussions from that. Fortunately, she has a mandatory 30 days in rehab as soon as she gets out of Linwood Jail, which will either be in 30 days or 20 days or 14 days. But that will be significant.
Gail, thanks very much. Got to leave it there. Thank you for the update. Thank you. Live from...
Always a pleasure.
Always, thank you. Live from Los Angeles there, Gail Murphy. Are we any the wiser as to who...
I don't know why is she in there? Drink driving?
Yeah, she broke the
terms of her probation.
The terms of probation, exactly, Charlotte. Yeah, she's a very naughty girl. Charlotte tells me she was in a film called Mean Girls.
Mean Girls?
Yeah, she was.
And the Herbie film.
Oh, yes, and she's a Disney starlet as well. Are you aware of who she is, Isabel?
I think I've seen her in some child thing. I don't really know what it is. I can't remember. I think she was very pretty when she was little, wasn't she? Very cute.
Yes.
She's not cute anymore.
She's in jail.
She's in jail and she sells a lot of magazines and things.
Let's take a look at the weather, shall we?
No, let's do that, because the weather is misbehaving as well, almost as bad as Lindsay Lohan. Whipping boys there. Is he the latest whipping boy? Live here, 8:30 on the programme. Stay tuned for that. Right, let's get a rundown on what else is happening. What have you got, Charlotte?
Thanks, Eamon. News of a mother jailed for killing her brain-damaged son with heroin. She's going to appeal against her conviction today. Frances Inglis was given a life sentence in January for giving her 22-year-old son, Thomas, a fatal dose of heroin. And today's appeal is just the latest to highlight the issue of mercy killings, as Rhiannon Mills reports.
Frontier, or maybe not. Just getting your tweets in this morning. James Williams, Lindsay Lohan. She should do the full term, the full 90 days, not 2 weeks. Once again, one rule for one for another. You got anything in Lindsay Lohan?
I have actually, yeah. Nancy Volak has got in touch to say, am I the only one who saw the interview with Lohan's father when he told the interviewer his daughter had made lunch arrangements for straight after the court appearance? She says, I ask how serious could she be about the possibility of going to jail if she'd already made arrangements to go out to lunch after court. So.
Well, thank goodness for overcrowding, she's saying. There we go. Keep us posted on that. We're going to look through the front pages of the papers now. Let's bring you The Guardian first. It's a Wednesday morning Sky News Sunrise. Mr. John Gaunt, he's standing by to have his say on what's in the papers today. Sure. And there's lots to get through there, John, so good to see you. Charlotte on the news desk, and leading the news this morning, David Cameron. He's in America. Robert Nisbet from Washington there. John Gaunt's got the newspapers, and Mr. Al-Megrahi, not the only person being discussed by the President and the Prime Minister yesterday. Gary McKinnon, the computer hacker, very much on the agenda. John's view on what should be done with him, should he be extradited or not. After this from Charlotte.
Thanks, Eamon. A mother jailed for fatally injecting her brain-damaged son with heroin is appealing against her conviction today. Frances Inglis was sentenced to life with a minimum...
Star of the newspaper review this morning, Mr. John Gaunt. And we talked about this meeting between the President and the Prime Minister about Abdelbaset Al-Megrahi, but also Gary McKinnon, the computer hacker who suffers from Asperger's syndrome, is on the agenda as well.
Yeah, I mean, it says here in the Mail, Obama's ray of hope for Gary. They've been carrying on a campaign saying that he shouldn't be extradited. I disagree entirely. He hacked into their computers. He committed a crime in America, even though he was based here. He should be extradited. Now, that all spins on the fact that our extradition rules aren't the same as theirs. However, the rules are the rules. He should be extradited. It's not like we're sending him off to some country where there's not a proper system of law or justice. Even Lindsay Lohan is only doing 2 days. Gary McKinnon should be on a plane and he should be going. And it's interesting as well, the Mail is spinning this, and the mum I see in the news on the Sky is spinning it as well. He didn't really give a ray of hope at all. He just said it's got nothing to do with the office of president. This is what Obama said, but we'll look into it. So he hasn't really given a ray of hope.
But he's saying he's looking for an appropriate solution.
Yeah, the appropriate solution is to get him on a plane at Heathrow and take him to America, and he should stand trial.
But that suggests that they're going to come to some sort of compromise. I mean, they'll want some sort of punishment, but not in America, obviously.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. I believe that he committed the crime in America, against America. I'm sorry, he should go to America.
The Mail say it's an affront to British justice. Why is it an affront to British justice?
I don't know. We'd have to ask the editor of the Daily Mail.
Is it fair that there's a system
that only works one way, though.
Well, yeah,
Or
but
pretty much works
therefore
one
we
way.
should address our system, shouldn't we? But the simple bottom line is he was bright enough to hack into it. If he's bright enough to hack into it,
Well,
he's bright enough to stand trial.
Some people say he did them a favour, though, by showing just how insecure their systems were.
Well, OK, then.
If he could do it from his
all right,
bedroom.
then. I'll tell you what, I'll go round your house and screw
Burglar.
it later, shall I? And then I'll be doing you a favour. Absolute liberal tosh, Charlotte, and you know it. I can't believe that. I'll tell you what, that's a bit like saying. I'll tell you what, we'll leave the back door open, because we're going to legalise burglary.
The police do that, though. They set up cars sometimes, so sometimes that's the way of proving to people
honey
just
trap.
how insecure things are.
She's straightened, didn't
No,
she?
she's playing devil's advocate there.
Hey?
No, we go to the Premier League, the football
Yeah.
Premier League, and thank goodness the return of some real football's only
Yeah.
a couple of weeks away.
It is.
But the clubs are globe-trotting.
Yeah, well, it's about your gaffer, this. It's about Sir Alec. He's saying there should be a winter break. He's been banging on about
Yeah.
this, he says, in The Sun for the last 30 years. But then The Sun today have looked at where all the teams are. If there was a winter break, all they'd do is what they're doing now in the summer break. They'd travel all over the world to
Making
earn
money.
even more money.
Yeah.
How can a footballer be tired? 2 matches a week and a couple of hours training, and the rest of the time in the bookie shop or in Ashley Cole's case in front of the mirror. Enough of that. But you understand where I'm coming from. This is garbage. I tell you what they should be concentrating on is lowering the ticket price. Lowering the ticket price, especially for children. So 50, 60 quid for some Premier clubs now, unless you can get them in the junior section, and they're reducing the sizes of the junior section. Football will eat itself if it doesn't get on top of these
Lowering the
problems.
wages for guys who
Would help.
obviously can't hack it on the world stage.
Well, that would also help, wouldn't it? Performance related.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got a cartoon that that featured here, and this is from The Guardian. What's this about?
Well, this cartoon here it says, this invasion of Iraq undoubtedly raised the level of threat. This is Baroness Manningham Buller. She used to be in charge of MI5. But then it got a great quote next to it. It says, the Emperor was naked and the Pope was Catholic. I told you so. ... not. It's a Steve Bell cartoon. It's a brilliant cartoon because this lady yesterday, she goes into the Iraq inquiry and gives it both barrels, and the stuff she comes out with is absolutely incredible. She says, yes, it radicalised British Muslim youth, the invasion of Iraq. Yes, there wasn't enough evidence about weapons of mass destruction. Da-da-da. And then you remember, but actually, you were on the committee, love. And didn't you say anything about this? David Kelly was hung out to dry. Meanwhile, she, some people would say, sat on her hands. Now she's giving it both barrels. If she had those concerns, why didn't she say more to Blair, especially about the so-called dodgy dossier at the time? There's a lot of people at the moment who are hand-wringing and sort of solving their conscience, but way after the event. And no matter how many words you read today in any of the newspapers, this cartoon, this one cartoon, sums it up better than anyone.
Talking about way after the event, candidate for the Labour leadership, David Miliband, and this is in the Express that we're looking at here. He talks about Al Megrahi's release, and he's basically saying now it's wrong, but last October he said.
Fantastic. He was all in favour. He said it was up to the Scottish. No problem. This is Banana Man, of course. He was famously pictured with the banana in his hand. Well, this is going to become his banana skin, I think, in the leadership. You can't do a U-turn like this. This is like a Stig out of Top Gear handbrake turn. You know, he's completely changed his opinion. Why can't people have the courage of their convictions to say, I felt that at the time, I still feel that, or I made a mistake? Instead, he basically now turns round and says it's now 11 months on and something's gone badly wrong. Now, I know you're speaking later to the Justice Secretary for Scotland, Kenny McAskill, about this whole subject, but the whole thing stinks. And I still go back to my point, which I said an hour ago. There's still all these questions about who actually did do the bombing. Was it this man? Was he on his own? Why hasn't there ever been a full inquiry? Why are those people who died, both American and British, never had the right inquiry into what happened on that fateful day of the Lockerbie?
The Justice Secretary, Scottish Justice Secretary, they'll be very proud and they'll say, under the prisoner transfer scheme, we rejected his release. And they're very proud of that. But we have released him on compassionate grounds. Isn't it the same thing, just dressed up in a different way?
Well, it is really, isn't it? And also, it was on compassionate grounds. They should find the doctor and lock him up, shouldn't they? I mean, Kelvin Mackenzie, my esteemed colleague on The Sun, of course, made the point, didn't he, about 10 months ago. He had a £500 bet on this because he said he'll still be alive by August. And we all thought he was being a bit sick. But it's true. They reckon he could live for another 10 years. OK, well, we'll be talking about that 8:30 this morning. John, got to say goodbye to you. Thank you very much indeed. John Gaunt has now left the building. Sky News Sunrise, the website, skynews.com.
Thank you both very much indeed. What's happening sports-wise? Here's Jacqueline.
Thank you. Lance Armstrong has admitted he just wasn't quick enough to win stage 16 of the Tour de France yesterday.
Raining in Liverpool last night, very heavily raining. The picture for today, we say good morning to Isabel Lang.
Thanks, Eamon. Yeah, 14 millimetres of rain in an hour, I think, in Liverpool yesterday. And not just Liverpool, but there was also flash flooding across parts of Wales and Lancashire.